Hi, my name is Carmen Petty.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chiming Heng.
Hello, my name is Natalia Jarbo.
Hi, my name is Dennis Wu.
And my name is Alexia Saboka.
And welcome back to Channel 7 Business News, where we talk about everything up and coming about business and tips for our viewers. Today, we're going to be talking about improving your listening skills. To have a successful conversation hinges on your ability to listen. If you are an active listener, you will be an effective communicator. Listening is essential for acquiring information needed to create companies, to perform on the job, and to build a foundation for trust and successful relationships. Listening is more complex than you think. You may think that you're a good listener because you have done it all of your life, but listening requires active involvement to be successful. Listening has its own unique challenges, and your own choices and behaviors can affect your listening abilities. Shimeng Heng will tell us some of them.
All right, starting off, I'll be going over challenges of listening and choices that affect listening qualities. So, for the first box, I chose distractions. Second box, I chose emotional barriers. And the third box, I chose assumptions and biases. For the first box, distractions, I'm going to be explaining internal and external. In the second box, I'll be explaining the emotional barriers as in stress, empathy, and anger. The third one, I'll be explaining assumptions and biasness. Alright. Distractions. Internal distractions, personal worries, bias, or preconceptions can hinder effective listening by diverting our attention away from the speaker's message. Overcoming internal distractions involve recognizing and managing these thoughts and emotions, actively choosing to set them aside and maintaining focus on the speaker to ensure attentive and empathetic listening. Next one, external distractions. Environmental factors that can interfere with effective listening. These distractions include noise, interruptions, or other stimuli in the surrounding environment that diverts attention away from the speaker's message. So a example of internal distractions would be if you had a group project or like a project that you have been procrastinating in. That would be an internal distraction where that can cause you to be distracted and not listen to the speaker. An external distraction can be say you're in a Zoom meeting and outside you hear construction. That can distract the way you listen to the speaker. On to the next slide. Emotional barriers. Starting off with stress. Stress is an emotional state characterized by feeling of tension, pressure, or overwhelm. In the context of listening, stress can hinder effective communication by disrupting focus, increasing distractions. So, stress, it's kind of like an internal distraction. If you're stressed with school, that can hinder the way you listen to the speaker. All right, for empathy, in content of listening, empathy plays a crucial role in effective communication by allowing us to connect with the speaker on an emotional level, comprehend his perspective, and respond with compassion. So showing empathy is like if a speaker is talking to you about something tragic that just happened, you would show them some sort of level of empathy to know that you're listening to them. And anger, in the context of listening, anger can act as a barrier to effective communication by impairing our ability to remain calm, objective, and open-minded. When experiencing anger, individuals may be more prone to react defensively, interrupting or dismiss a speaker's perspective. So anger, an example for that would be as if you're getting defensive just because you've had a bad day. Alright, on to the next slide, assumption and bias. Assumption. In the context of listening, assumption can hinder effective communication by leading us to jump to conclusions or misinterpret the speaker's message. Making assumptions can prevent us from fully understanding the speaker. And then an example for assumption is you not giving the speaker their time to fully say what they wanted, and you just interrupt them by thinking they said something when they haven't finished the whole story. Alright, move on to bias. Bias can affect our interpretation of the speaker's message. Bias can distort communication by causing us to overlook relevant information, misinterpret the speaker's intentions, or unfairly judge their perspective. So bias, a way to stop biasness is to be open-minded about the speaker. If you guys have different opinions, you try to see it in their perspective. Alright, and that's the end for my slides.
Thank you, Shemang. Those are some serious challenges and some bad habits that we may face. Now that we know a little bit more about the barriers that can hinder good listening, how can we minimize them? Dennis Wu will give us the answers to that.
Another important topic would be to minimize the barriers to effective listening itself. Now, these barriers can come in two different types, defined as internal and external barriers. Starting with external barriers, since they are the most obvious and prevalent and easy to fix among the two. Now, external barriers themselves can be defined as factors in the environment or communication channel that could hinder effective listening. Think of a phone call, Zoom meeting, business lunch, or just regular office meeting. Some examples of the barriers themselves could be noise, interruptions, or just a bad connection. Some solutions for these barriers would be to minimize your distractions in the environment itself and choose quiet locations to take calls or meetings, and to also confirm key information with the speaker themselves if you did not hear them properly. Also, of course, communicate if you're having a spotty connection or something that's really out of your control. A good example of this would be if you're in a noisy area, to go into a more secluded spot to take the call itself. Or if you're having bad internet, maybe you could, and there are other people on your Wi-Fi, maybe you could go ahead and ask, hey, do you mind just for a couple minutes hopping off so I can have a better connection? The important takeaway here is to never guess at what somebody may have said and to confirm it with them, either at the end of the call, summarizing everything they've said, or later in an email. Now, moving on to the second barrier, which is internal barriers. They are much harder to tell than external barriers, since they're based on the listener's behaviors, thoughts, and emotions that can impede the speaker's words and understanding of what they're trying to really say. Additionally, when you have a lot of internal barriers, making it so that you can't really focus on what they're saying, you may come off as disrespectful to the speaker, and that's something you really don't want to do. Some examples of internal barriers could be multitasking, selective attention, or personal biases. A solution to get rid of some of these internal barriers, or at least minimize them, is to pay very close critical attention to what the speaker is saying, manage your own thoughts and emotions, and be aware of your own personal biases, and to avoid defensive listening, which is a term for when you are hearing somebody what they're trying to say, but you're framing it in your own head as a sort of attack on your own personal beliefs. The key takeaway to this is to be focused when you speak to somebody and try to listen unbiasedly and to manage your own emotions.
Thank you, Dennis, for your insight. Next, adapting your listening style is very important as well. Alexia Shabolka will tell us a little bit more about that and elaborate on that.
Hello, I'll be going over adapt your listening. Forms of active listening include content listening, critical listening, and empathetic listening. I'll just be going over some examples that have to do with these. For content listening, you want to understand and retain the information. You won't be doing a lot of question asking, but some questions you can ask include, is this correct? Or really just to make sure that you heard the person correctly, not to try and find out more information, but just to make sure that you heard them. Critical listening, you will be asking questions to clarify the information, and you'll be asking more open-ended questions like, what ideas do you have? And that will really help you get that information in your head, and you'll be understanding it very well asking those questions. And then empathetic listening is all about the feelings. So you could ask, how did that make you feel? Just so you can get that connection with the person. Next, time and place. So for content listening, when will you use this? You will use this in informational meetings or conversations just when you are in a situation where you will be listening and not asking questions too much. You'll just be taking in the information. You could also use it when you're getting criticized, like at a job, if you did something wrong and they're telling you what you need to do better. That will be your content listening. That's when you want to use that one. For critical listening, this will be used in lectures, maybe investigations, and in important instructions. This will be used whenever you are really trying to take in that information. So, in an investigation, for example, you are trying to find out every fact you possibly can. So, you're going to be asking every question you can to make you be able to understand that information. And then in empathetic listening, you'll be using this more with your friends where you want to make a connection. So, when your friend's telling a story, you could be using it then, or even helping a child because you really want to make sure that you are making their feelings an important thing to you. And our last slide is the importance. So the importance of knowing when to use these different types of listening skills is because you want to be able to create relationships between all of the people you are listening to, and there's really no place where you could use all three at once. You're just going to have certain situations where you need to use one type of listening, and it is good to know how to use that. And then here's my works cited page. Thank you for listening today.
Thank you, Alexia. The last tip that we have for today is how to actively listen. Natalia Jarbo will explain this to us.
I'm going to be talking about active listening for the listening skills topic. The 3 best ways of becoming a better listener. First, it's minimizing the barriers of effective listening, adapting your listening style to the situation, as well as engaging in active listening. So, first off, it's what is active listening? Active listening is to make a conscious effort to engage with others as well as turn off internal filters in order to hear what others are saying. So, for example, if someone is speaking, it's better to put all your thoughts and everything you're thinking about aside and pay attention to what the speaker is saying, and as well as being able to think of the things that the speaker is saying. There are 5 different ways to listen actively. Starting off with an open and positive state of mind, this helps the mindset take new information and positive information about the experience. Active engagement is if you don't commit to a conversation, then your mind is going to wander and you're not going to be engaged. Respect for silence, when there might be a speaker that might go silent, maybe they're reconsidering their thoughts or collecting their thoughts, and if you end up stepping in, you could ruin the flow of the speaker. There's nonverbal awareness, which can explain and amplify the speaker's message, and then there's thoughtful note-taking. Taking notes is something very important, so don't always rely on your memory, especially when the speaker is giving off very important information. When you're taking notes, it's very important to also have a great way of organization when you're writing down notes. That way you're able to keep up with what the speaker's saying while you're writing down your notes, and you won't miss any important information. There are 3 forms of active listening, starting off with content listening to understand as well as retain the information that someone else is sharing. There's critical listening to be able to understand and evaluate the information in terms of arguments and conclusions, as well as understanding the speaker's motives, which may be relevant as well. There's also empathetic listening, which is to understand the speaker's needs, wants, or feelings, no matter what your perspective is towards agreeing or not. Then there's also effective listening and ineffective listening. Effective listeners are able to take notes, stay focused, listen actively, make eye contact with the speaker, keep emotions under control, give nonverbal feedback, engage with asking the speaker questions. Ineffective listening are when you do the exact opposite and let your mind wander to other places, as well as take no notes or give the speaker any sort of attention as to your interest in what is being said. So for effective listening, it's very important to always listen to the reader, take notes, just stay focused on what's coming out of the speaker's mouth. For ineffective listening, you're basically in a whole nother world. Your body is there, but you're not listening to what the speaker is saying, and whatever the speaker is saying is just going somewhere else and you're thinking about other things. And here's my works cited page. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia, and everyone for helping provide tips for our viewers on how to become a better listener. Listening is a vital skill to have in the workplace. So I hope this segment today helped you to improve your listening skills. Until next time, bye guys.